Hi, my name is Julieta, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and an ASEX certified sex therapist. And I'm going to be talking about Persephone, and specifically the maiden aspect of the goddess Persephone. Over where I am in California, we are entering into spring. Things are blooming, the sun is shining, and it's really been making me reflect on Persephone's journey. If you don't know about the myth of Persephone, her main myth is related to her abduction by Hades. So Persephone was a young maiden, also known as Kor. She loved to go in the beautiful fields of flowers. She was very much connected with her mother. And the Greek gods at the time basically said that the god of the underworld, Hades, could take Persephone to be his wife. And so she had her own underworld journey where she was taken into the underworld. Her and her mother Demeter really worked to have her be able to come back to Earth. And at the end of her myth, basically the agreement is that she will spend half the year in Earth, and that's when springtime and summer will be here, and half of the year in the underworld, and that's when we'll have the fall and winter. And so she really is a goddess and an archetype that is going to hold both of these dualities of the spring, the warmth, the playfulness, and also this darkness and this transformation, and really the shadow aspects of ourselves. And in order to be whole, we have to be able to honor and look at both of them. And so I'm going to do a whole other video on the underworld goddess aspect of Persephone. But I really want to spend today talking about this maiden archetype of Persephone and her journey and how we can get to look at these parts of ourselves through her story. So we've got two aspects of the maiden for Persephone. One is prior to her abduction by Hades into the underworld. She was very playful, very innocent. Some would say maybe she was naive. She wasn't aware of the darkness that can occur in life. This was her prior to trauma. This was her prior to really not having control over her life, her recognizing all of those painful aspects. She was very much sheltered by her mother, Demeter. And after her underworld abduction, after she became queen of the underworld, she returns to maiden form twice, or half of the year, in the spring and the summer. And when she is back in her maiden form, she gets to connect back with that playfulness, with the warmth, with the freedom, with the flourishing of these seasons. But she's different because once we've had trauma, once we've had pain, we don't go back to the way that we were before. I think that sometimes we really crave that when we've had trauma, when we've had loss, when we've had painful experiences. We want to go back to that innocence. We want to go back to that place that we were before we discovered the harshness of the world, before our nervous systems held that pain and that trauma. And I think that there can be this really big fear that we can't ever go back to playfulness, to joy, to feeling warmth, innocence, all of those pieces. But the Persephone archetype and the maiden aspect of Persephone shows us that part of wholeness, part of our growth, part of our healing is reclaiming that, reclaiming our ability to, go run around in the fields and pick flowers, reclaiming our right to playfulness, to joy, to sexuality that feels really good and pleasurable and embodied. The maiden aspect of Persephone is all about really the joys of life, the lightness of life, and being able to connect back with that even when we've had pain. And so how we can start to connect with our own aspects of the maiden archetype of Persephone is really connecting with our nervous systems, recognizing how we've been shaped by trauma, how we've been shaped by pain, how we've been shaped by really recognizing the harshness of this world and seeing what would feel soft for us. So for you, it might be snuggling up with your kitties and feeling just their purring and how good that feels in your nervous system. It might be having a little flower garden or some pots of herbs around you and tending to those and connecting with those archetypes of growth, of flourishing. It could be really mindful movement, seeing what dancing would feel like for you, seeing what yoga would feel like for you, even walking in nature. It's all about coming into being alive, reclaiming vitality, connecting with playfulness. What brings us joy? Is it watching something really funny? Is it dancing around? Is it listening to a song that just brings us back to those days? And above all, as we are exploring these practices, it's honoring. It's honoring that we can hold both. We can hold pain, we can hold trauma, we can hold grief, we can hold loss, and we can also hold joy and playfulness and innocence, that feeling of innocence, of just being in the moment, having vitality again. That can show up sexually, having fun with sex, knowing our right to feel pleasure and joy and softness in daily lives, seeing if you can infuse that into your moment by moment, making your food look really beautiful for you, having a shower that feels really lovely, that has scents that you love, having growth and gardens and whatever. Even if you've got like a tiny little room, in a roommate situation, like, can you have one little plant that reminds you of the flourishing of the growth? So that is certain ways that we can connect with the maiden. And again, it's just having this awareness. I think that the thing I love so much about archetypes is that they bring so much to surface. We all live lives a lot of time on autopilot. We're on our phones, we're just going through day to day, we're tired, we're working, got kids, there's just so much happening right now. And sometimes it just feels easier to just push down these parts of ourselves, whether it's the painful parts or even the joyful parts, because that can feel really vulnerable. So really recognizing those maiden aspects of ourselves, starting to name them, starting to feel, when do we feel that energy? When does that start to come alive? How do you feel with certain movement? How do you feel with certain aspects of your sexuality? How do you feel when you are in nature? When you are having certain foods, when you are having even different relationships with people? What helps you feel that aliveness in your body, that playfulness within yourself, that lightness within yourself? And again, we're all so different, but starting to have that awareness and recognize that and start to really embody that can be really, really powerful. Because what Persephone shows us is that all of these aspects of ourselves and our experiences are so needed. This is part of life. This is part of our journeys. And we can grow into being so powerful and authentic and really joyful and have this vitality and this life force energy when we are able to honor and look at all the parts of ourselves. When we don't feel like we're fragmented, when we don't feel like we're split, when we don't feel like we have to judge or disconnect from aspects of ourselves. And so this maiden aspect, this springtime, it's a really perfect, beautiful time to explore that. So I hope that this feels helpful and connecting and honoring for you. And my recommendation is, after you've watched this video, just really drop in. Notice what comes up for you. Do you feel anything activated in your body? Do you have any imagery that you connect with the maiden aspect of Persephone with? Do you have anything that really you feel drawn to doing today that would feel honoring to that part of yourself, that maiden aspect, that Persephone, playful, young Persephone part of you? And like I said, I'll be doing another video on the underworld goddess aspect of Persephone, but just play and honor this part today. And I hope that this feels really joyful and connecting and honoring. Thank you so much.